So over this late summer, early fall, I was starting my path working with Satan, um, and exploring different aspects. I've done some pretty previous videos on this. I'll put some of the links below. I did a link. I did a video on the infernal feminine and also the prophecies of the adversary over the summer. But I have some other stuff I wanted to share too. Anyways, so one of the things I experienced in my path working with Satan was sort of looking at this source energy, source consciousness, and things like that. And it's sort of the only way I can describe it is sort of a mix of divine and infernal energy. But I was working with Satan on understanding first the title of Satan as an infernal like a lot of times we talk about the masks of different demons or gods, goddesses, etc. And Satan a lot of times is more of a title, like is Lucifer Satan, is Beelzebub Satan, is Belial Satan, is Satan Satan, who is Satan, etc. So in my explorations of it as more of a title is that it's a manifestation of infernal energy. Not necessarily demonic or of angelic or celestial origin. In this particular instance, I was working sort of more, I believe, in the astral realm at the time, is that Satan placed his hands upon my head and he showed me a few things, and it was just like flashing through a whirlwind of visuals. And he embraced me as I was asking about the source and the infernal empire and the divine and celestial realm. He said, "Look down, there is nothing beneath us. Above the earthen realm, the source, some people might call the source God or like or that sort of thing, or heaven, but it's like an energy source that's surrounded by infernal and divine energy. So if you sort of imagine this sort of like swirling thing, and you've kind of got like an infernal current going one way and like a celestial divine current going the other way. I feel like the divine one was blue and the infernal one was red, and the source was sort of like a whitish yellow, maybe. I mean, that would make sense because primary colors are the colors from which all other colors are derived. Hi, was an art student. So, say like all beings are energetic manifestations. And that makes sense. Like I'm a firm believer that everything is energy. It's frequency, vibration, and energy. Whether it's a toothpick or a human being, it's got some type of energy signature, a vibration, a frequency to it. And the same thing when you're looking at like demonic sigils and things like that, or spirit sigils and whatnot, is that everything's kind of got that hard-coded into it, which is something I've explored more in my workings with Shemyaza recently. So the human realm is between the infernal realm and the celestial realm. The source is like a universe in and of itself. We talked about angels as divine energy, demons as infernal energy. Humans are born with fragments of source energy. For it lies dormant and if it's never activated, it then shrivels and dies. Others are a manifestation of the divine, in which they are a balance of the divine and infernal energies. He goes on to talk about the horsemen, and the horsemen ride at times of great imbalances and wreak havoc and restore order. Sorry, I have terrible handwriting, so I'm looking at my grimoire, which is almost done. I have, for the first time in my life, like filled an entire book. I'm notorious for getting awesome journals and books and filling about 20 pages, and then they just kind of sit there. So, but I digress. And I asked, am I here to save the world? In order to save the world and heal the world, you must first destroy the world. Not in a literal sense. Healing and saving come forth after destruction. Enjoy the world. Heal and save the world. We spoke of mathematics as the language and DNA code, programming code, manipulating DNA. I need to revisit this because he said do the math, solve the code, which actually translates into something I'm working on right now, and that kind of is a key piece to it. I'm terrible at math. I've been channeling a lot of like things that come forth in like spirit sigils and signatures and things that I don't know how to translate. And I was like, guys, can you like give this to me in a language I understand? So they gave me math. I'm like, I don't understand that either. You should be really specific when you're working with spirits because they don't get nuance sometimes. And as a funny aside, Satan said that Belial invented clowns. He also finds them creepy. Satan, that is. I don't blame him. Clowns are kind of creepy. The interesting physicality of when you come close to the source is, even though I was in the astral realm, I felt this like intense pressure, like in like my sinuses and in my face and in my like it just kind of had that head in the vice kind of feel. And this was months ago, and my ears have not stopped ringing since then. Like, this is sort of like the day or two after you go to a really loud concert kind of ringing, where it's just this constant. It's very annoying. I've gotten used to it though. I don't always notice it, and then suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, that ringing's still there. I did my first attempt to go to the source was with Azazel, and I blacked out on the way there. That's fun when you black out in the astral realm. It wasn't falling asleep. It was just like literally losing consciousness. So, it was interesting, as I've been path working with Satan because December 29th, I believe, 2020, Become a Living God is releasing the final, the 9th Gatekeeper Compendium of Satan, which I'm very much looking forward to because I'm really curious to see how other people have approached the path working for this. So, that's like a couple weeks from now, I think. Yay! So I'm interested to see what everyone else's gnosis was on it, because this is the first time I was kind of path working without having done any of like the video courses or reading the compendiums and things like that. That I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start doing this and see what comes up. So that's been an interesting process, and I've done a few other videos on that. I feel like the one message with every single spirit I work with that comes through loud and clear is balancing the light and the dark within ourselves and within the world. And we live in a world that is very out of balance, obviously, especially now in the utter shit show that is known as 2020. So, yeah. So a lot of the work I've done this year is to balance my own personal light and darkness. And I think, a little bit in the video I talked about in the Infernal Feminine, is that when we talk of the Divine Feminine, it's like all the woo-woo love and light, Earth Mother, goddess kind of things. But then it sort of takes away from embracing our darker sides, our warrior goddess, the mama bear, those aspects of however you want to define femininity. And I don't think that needs to apply to any particular gender or biological sex, because I am not, I try as best as I can to steer clear of the binary, affixing binary things, but we live in a binary world, so, it's a little, it happens sometimes. But I like to kind of think beyond the binary in a lot of things, so. And it's not just for virtual signaling and inclusiveness, it's just, that's kind of the way of the world, and even the spirits that I work with are like, gender constructs, that's your thing, we can be whatever we want, So, yeah. Anyways, so that's a little bit about my path working with Satan thus far. My approach a little bit to the path working is probably different than a lot of other people, is that I kind of look at it like establishing a working relationship with that particular spirit, demon, goddess, whatever. And then I build on that, like, over time. It's not that, okay, well, I did my 3 months or 6 months with this one and I move on to the next one. It's sort of like, okay, I go through the thing with this one, and then sometimes things come up down the road. Like when I first started working with Abaddon, I was sort of like, I don't really know how I'm going to work with Abaddon until like a few months later. I'm like, okay, all this abyss stuff and underworld things. Okay, this makes sense now. I get it. So, yeah, it's like just building a relationship. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of work outside of doing like my pacts with Lucifuge. Doesn't mean I'm never going to work with Lucifuge again. I did a little bit of work with Beelzebub. Doesn't mean I'm never going to work with Beelzebub again. It's just an ongoing process for me. And that's the thing that's great is you can kind of develop your own path and your own processes for doing things. You don't have to like read a book and follow every single thing, because I'm sort of procedural in that way because I come things from more of an academic kind of background, where I'm like research all the things, and look at the experiments and the processes and do the ritual as the ritual is done. I'm like, there's wiggle room, as they say. So, anyways, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I will see you all again soon.